wisdom,
prudentia,
justice,
justitia,
temperance,
temperantia,
courage.
fortitudo.
Applying ancient philosophy to modern life, this is the Sunday Stoic.
An excerpt from Philo of Alexandria's work on special laws, number 44 and 48. I hope your Stoic progress is going well, and that you are living a flourishing life, having a smooth flow of life, and proceeding every day a little bit closer to wisdom and all the other virtues. I'm trying. Sometimes I go in circles, though, I'm afraid. But I do want to say thank you to Daniel and to Dylan, as well as Kevin and Jared for writing in, letting me know how things are going, what you're thinking, and some ideas on future episodes. A lot of folks saying they'd like to hear more of Marcus Aurelius or perhaps Seneca. I will point out that I thought about going in depth into some more Seneca. However, I don't want to step on Simon Drew's toes. He has a whole separate podcast right now, which is called Soul Searching with Seneca, where he focused solely on Seneca's work. So you can check that out. That doesn't mean I'm not going to cover Seneca. I just might not go, through all of Seneca's letters anytime soon, simply because he's working on that himself. But I also want to give a shout out to little Marcus, a young man just recently born, and named after someone you may have heard of, Marcus Aurelius, and hopefully our newest listener. So welcome to the world, and it's a pleasure to get to see your picture that your dad sent me, and I wish you all the luck in the world, and I hope you seize the day every day, Marcus. Good luck. This week, I thought I would share something that I read in Pierre Hadot's book, Philosophy as a Way of Life. It's a quote from a Jewish philosopher from Alexandria, born right around the time he lived around the same time as Seneca. Born BC, died AD, basically, through that time frame. And he's obviously influenced by the Stoics, as well as other philosophies, I'm sure. But he talks about this vision of what it means to live a philosophical life, what it would be like if we really were able to do it, and if lots of people did it, and we were all living in a world that was full of sages in the making. And I think it's kind of aspirational, and it gives you a target to aim at, like, okay, this is what I'm going for. And I just thought it was a kind of a departure from the folks we normally hear from, but it's also very similar to the people we talk about every day. So I hope you enjoy this reading, and then I'll go through and break some of it down and give a little bit of commentary on it as we go. Whether among the Greeks or the barbarians, who are practicers of wisdom, living in a blameless and irreproachable manner, determining not to do any injustice, not even to retaliate it when done to them, shunning all associations with busybodies in the cities which they inhabit, avoid all courts of justice, and council halls, and marketplaces, and places of assembly, and in short every spot where any band or company of precipitate, headstrong men is collected. Admiring, as it were, a life of peace and tranquillity, being the most devoted contemplators of nature and of all the things in it, investigating earth and sea and air and heaven and all the different natures in each of them, dwelling, if one may so say, in their minds at least, with the moon and the sun and the whole company of the rest of the stars, both planets and fixed stars. Having their bodies indeed firmly planted on the earth, but having their souls furnished with wings, in order that thus hovering in the air they may closely survey all the powers above, looking upon them as in reality the most excellent of cosmopolites, who consider the whole world as their native city, and all the devotees of wisdom as their fellow citizens, virtue itself having enrolled them as such, to whom it has been entrusted to frame a constitution for their common city. Being therefore full of all kinds of excellence, and being accustomed to disregard all those good things which affect the body and external circumstances, and being in order to look upon things indifferent as really indifferent, and being armed by study against the pleasures and appetites, and in short, being always laboring to raise themselves above the passions, and being instructed to exert all their power to pull down the fortification which those appetites have built up, and being insensible to any impression which the attacks of fortune might make upon them, because they have previously estimated the power of its attacks in their anticipation, for anticipation makes even those things light which would have been most terrible if unexpected. Their minds, in this manner, calculating that nothing that happens is wholly strange, but having a kind of faint perception of everything as old and in some degree blunted. These men, being very naturally rendered cheerful by their virtues, pass the whole of their lives as if in a festival. These men, however, are therefore but a small number, kindling in their different cities a sort of spark of wisdom, in order that virtue may not become utterly extinguished, and so be entirely extirpated from our race. But if men everywhere agreed with this small number, and became as nature originally designed that they should, all blameless and irreproachable, lovers of wisdom, delighting in all that is virtuous and honorable, and thinking that and that alone good, and looking on everything else as subordinate and slaves, as if they themselves were masters of them, and the cities would be full of happiness, being wholly free from the things which are the causes of pain or fear, and full of those which produce joy and cheerfulness, so that no time would ever cease to be the time of a happy life, but that the whole circle of the year would be one festival.
So those of us who are practicers of wisdom, as he says here, trying to live a blameless life, so a life that you know that you've done everything you could to live a life where no one could blame you for anything and be justified in doing so. An irreproachable life. A life where you do not do injustice, even if someone does injustice to you. He goes on to say that these individuals who are pursuing this life would avoid busybodies. So, and he goes and lists places where you might find busybodies. And in our modern world, that might be social media and places where people go to gossip. You're not going to be found doing those sorts of things. You're not going to be found anywhere where a group of headstrong fools are collected. And you're going to seek a life of peace and tranquility. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to retire into an Epicurean garden, but you are going to not hang out with people that you don't need to hang out with. The crowd, you're not going to be influenced by the crowd in negative ways. You'll do what needs to be done, but you will retire and study on your own without mixing with people who are going to bring you down. And then he also goes on to say that they investigate the sea, the air, the things of heaven, the stars, and then through basically meditation, Stoic meditation, like the view from above and things, send your soul out into those places and see how you fit into the cosmos and see the workings of the cosmos and the way of the world. Understand how nature works the way it is, the beauty of nature, how small of a part of it even our planet is, how much space there is in the void of space. Understand this insignificance of the human lifespan and things of that nature, putting yourself into the viewpoint of Mother Nature or of God, as it were, and getting yourself out of your own head, seeing things from the viewpoint of nature, understanding that diseases or things that happen to individuals from a universal standpoint are not evil, as it were. And so seeing things from that universal perspective, understanding the world and the will of nature, etc., and understanding that everyone else in this nature on this planet who is also pursuing wisdom is your cousin, your brother, your sister. And so we're pursuing all forms of excellence, disregarding external circumstances that are not our own doing, looking upon indifferent things as being truly indifferent, guarding ourselves against seeking too many pleasures at the cost of our dignity, and overcoming the fortifications, as he puts it, that we've built up around our desires that are unuseful, and we have to pull those down. The justification we give for our bad behavior, we have to see it. We have to realize we're doing it. We have to tear it down. We have to build ourselves up in the model of the sage that we're trying to emulate. We have to understand that fortune can creep up at any time and do anything to us. It could be traffic jam, could be your house falling apart, it could be illness. But if you premeditate on potential evils, nothing is new under the sun. And if something does arise, it won't cut you like a sharp blade. It'll be like a dull, worn out attack because you saw it coming, and it's not going to hurt you like an unexpected attack would by fortune. Therefore, these people are going to be naturally cheerful, full of virtue. Their life is a festival because nothing is unexpected. Nothing's going to surprise them and destroy their tranquility. They are associating with other good people. They are doing good in the world, helping others, etc. But he warns us that these people are few and far between. Luckily, there always are a few around. Otherwise, the spark of wisdom might disappear forever. But these folks are in charge of their vices, meaning they know they're there, they subdue them, they are the masters of them, they are living a cheerful life, therefore, free from pain and fear, and that every day, essentially, the entire cycle of the year is a festival to them. And I think that's kind of a cool idea too, because I like to celebrate sort of the cycle of the year. Hey, it's an equinox. It's a celebration of something that's not just mythological. It's a real thing. A solstice, for example. Celebrate these changes. Pay attention to the changes. Watch the plants change. Watch the snow change. Watch the clouds change. See nature as it changes. Don't just stare at the TV and stare at a book, but watch nature unfold each year and pay attention to it. It's worthy of celebration. It's a piece of us, and we are a piece of it, and we should be steeped in it and not ignore it. So I just think this is a great reading where he talks about sort of what the presence of a person pursuing wisdom would be like, what the life would be like of someone approaching sagehood, this person who rejoices in the natural cycles of the world, who sees things from a cosmos perspective, from the cosmos's perspective, who is unaffected by the blows of fortune because they expected them. They're the attacks of dull, worn out weaponry because you knew they were coming and that they could come at any time. You are satisfied with what you have. You rejoice in what you have, knowing that it will one day be taken away, but you have it right now, and that's worthy of satisfaction. So think about that. Read through that yourself. I'll put the link to this reading in the show description, and you can check it out yourself. I think it's a beautiful reading. And Hadot has an even smoother translation of it in his work, but I couldn't read from it. I had to read from this public domain version. So check out Pierre Hadot's work and check that out. Actually, one of his chapters starts with this reading. I just thought it was very powerful. Anyway, next week I have to make a decision what I'm going to do. I may start on another chapter of Marcus Aurelius, or perhaps we'll go through some one of Seneca's works in more detail. But until then, let me know what you think. Let me know what Stoic practices work for you, what things have really made an impact in your life. I want to talk about what the Stoics said, but I also want to talk about how we are implementing stuff in our everyday life. If you want to send an audio clip of encouragement to others, what your daily practice is like, how others could implement this thing, words of encouragement, things like that, feel free and I'll put it on the show. I'd like to hear from you. I don't want this just to be the words of dead men from thousands of years ago. What are we doing now? What wisdom do we have to impart? What practices actually make a difference in learning to be calm in all situations, to have equanimity, magnanimity, etc.? Let me know. And don't forget, while you're living your life, to pay attention to the cycle around you, the cycles of life, and the beauty of the world around you. And don't forget to seize the day. Carpe diem.